Yeah.
Do you know how old I am?
I don't.
I'm 35 years old. So for more than half of my life, you've been working in comics, and I've only been working in comics professionally for 7.
That makes me feel older when you say it like that, man.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers.
Welcome to a special midweek bonus episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Network here in Chicago. And this episode is an interview conducted in the store with the creators of the new historical graphic novel MARX, Onrie, Kompan, and Dan Dougherty. All right, so it's almost Christmas, but that has nothing to do with this, because we're going to talk about a historical graphic novel by Onrie, Kompan and Dan Dougherty, who happen to be right here with me live in the store. Now, Onrie, the last time you were here, if you remember, it was the day after the election in 2016, and we got pretty tequila wasted that day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Right.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Either way. So it's been a full year. Before we talk about your graphic novel, how has the last year impacted both of your creative endeavors?
Dan, do you want to start?
It's an unfair question.
To hit
you with without...
Set him up so I can knock him down.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really affected my career so much. It certainly has made the internet more interesting and has definitely steered me away from some of the more open conversations I used to have about it, about politics in general.
Sure. I
really feel like it's so polarized right now. I've kind of brought my policy up to, like, you know what, just focus on comics, and because I lost friends and I lost relatives.
Wow.
Yeah, like that.
By their choice, your choice, or both?
I think it's a little mutual, but it certainly got really aggressive really fast, and I really didn't like it. I kind of wish I was drinking tequila during all of that.
Yeah. We didn't have enough for you, sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, well, we thought we had enough, but after the two of us got to it.
Dang.
By the way, Henri's shadowboxing as we're talking to Dan right now.
Sorry.
And at any point, if you need to stop and talk to someone, please do. Don't let this.
If I knock your bin over, I'll clean it up.
if you want to talk to somebody,
I'll work the body.
Exactly.
Jump in.
That's my answer. But yeah,
honestly, politics has never affected my business because I never found myself drawn to it enough to affect my business. When people pick up my book, they're picking it up to escape whatever it is that they're going through. They're buying my book to be entertained for however long, and they'll take from it what they will.
Sure.
And I have customers of all different backgrounds. I had one customer. He looks Hispanic, and I found out he was a Trump supporter. And I didn't deny him business. I didn't have a political conversation with him.
Sure.
I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and said, all right, cool. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for supporting my business. I'm in it because of you.
I guess what I was getting at, and this is definitely from our standpoint, is people don't seem like they're willing to spend as much money lately, and they either have a lot of money set aside to donate to worthier causes that may have seen their funding cut this year, or they just want to squirrel some away because they're scared of their future.
Nervous,
yeah,
of course.
I can see that part of it for sure. I definitely think that people, when they feel like whatever their political views are that are not being met, are really happening, that they start thinking, okay, I got to get through the next term or whatever.
And it's great to see people focus on organizations that do good with money, and they feel like they're doing well. And unfortunately, nothing any of us do, you two, us here at Challengers, is integral to anyone's well-being as a human.
Well, I actually, I'm going to have to disagree and on everybody's front, because I've seen you raise money before for fighting Alzheimer's disease.
Sure.
At New York Comic Con, I did a fundraiser to, and I donated, I forgot how much now. I don't want to give the wrong number. But anyway, I gave a significant portion of what I earned at New York Comic Con to charity because...
Sure, and you did that for the Alzheimer's Association for me in a previous 2 years ago.
Well, you got when you got to help others. But the thing is that at first you have to be kind of like about helping you, because if your business is out, you can't help anybody. You can't even help yourself.
Sure.
And, you know, I think that I've definitely experienced what you're talking about at certain conventions that I've been to. Like, in fact, the last convention I went to, I was just talking with Dan about this. It was one of the hardest shows I ever did because it was packed, but no one was buying anything.
Sure.
And it was like pulling teeth from, you know, from people to get them to just give me $10 for 4 comics. But, you know, you just kind of take these things as they come, and, you know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow things could get so fucking bad that people are just going to really want to escape, and they're going to come in and they're going to spend hundreds of dollars in your store, and then you bounce back. And that's happened to all of us. I've had a point, you know, Dan's illustrated periods like this in his strip Beardo where you feel like you're done. And then all of a sudden something changes, and now you realize you're not done. You're better off than where you thought you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do admit that there's a lot of that in my career where 5 years ago I said, you know what, I'm retiring from comics retail in 2018. When I get to that point, I think it's time to pass the baton to somebody new, somebody younger. Like, I shouldn't be the guy people go to find out what's new and exciting and fresh anymore, because I'm none of those things in my life.
Actually, I disagree. You've created such an environment that people come to you for.
It's not even me. It's the comics that are still being put out still excite me as much as when I was a kid. So I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I wonder if
I'm
that's...
glad that you turned that around, because I was like, please don't say that that's what you think, because it's not true.
Well, it's also not your fault, too. It's the content that comes out, too. If it's not pulling at you, then that's also going to affect things.
Yeah.
And you and I have had conversations about this, too, that you're not selling comics that you like. You're selling comics customers are going to come in and buy in the shop. Your job is to supply what the customer wants.
Sure.
And that's a completely different ballgame. But you are also in the business of being aware of what's out there, and you read comics and you love them.
Yeah, and honestly, if there weren't books I liked, I wouldn't still be doing this.
Sure. And you know what? Passion will take you a long way. It doesn't matter how old you are, you know, and you got a hell of a lot of it. I mean, to have worked in... How many years have you been working in comics?
27 plus.
Yeah.
How many with that beard?
Oh, only 3.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you know how old I am?
I'm
35 years old. So for more than half of my life, you've been working in comics, and I've only been working in comics professionally for 7.
That makes me feel older when you say it like that, man.
No, you're a fucking battle hardened, dude. That should make you feel great. Like Stan,
I'm 75 though, so I've got you both.
Wow, you wear it well.
It's just constant moisturizing. I'm just lotioning up all the time.
Let me see the painting you have in your attic.
Right, yeah. It looks awful. Yeah, it's a B. Arthur.
It wasn't when it was painted.
Yeah.
It is now. So tell me about MARX.
Okay, so MARX is the story of my grandfather's life. About 5 years ago, he passed away, and as he was dying, I interviewed him and I got his story out of him, because when he was healthy, he didn't want to really talk about what he had been through during the war, and it was really kind of difficult because I had to decipher a lot of things from him, because he would recover from surgeries, and then one time he had a vein grafted on his leg, and then after the surgery he was just completely out of it. He stood up from his hospital bed and fell down and shattered his rib. He had a hairline fracture, and after that he didn't walk anymore. And I was always used to my grandpa coming in and out of the hospital and always surviving it, and now he suddenly wasn't able to do it, and his memory was starting to kind of fade on him. So he would tell me stories, and then I'd have my family there to kind of help back it up to make sure it was the real deal. And the story actually brought me out to Berlin for a couple days.
Oh, wow.
Because I interviewed this other guy who survived the Russian prison camps with my grandpa. And then...
was there a language barrier for that interview?
No, I speak fluent Russian, so
okay.
It was fine. It was kind of cool to be in Germany a little bit and be just see what was there. But it was just such a flash, because it was a stopover to go see my wife in Kazakhstan. I was living there at the time. Anyway, over the last 5 years, I've been putting it together, and Dan contributed an incredible amount of work to the book. He did a whole third of it, and he also put all the interior covers that separate each chapter. He also did the illustrations for that. And
with multiple artists, is there chapter break? Is there a reason for the art change? Is it different time periods, or
it's really the feeling that I wanted you to get out of it as the reader. The style that I picked for the first and last chapter is more of kind of like a fairy tale, because the first chapter is about his childhood, and the last chapter is about how I met my grandmother and how his life got better and how he brought her to America and all that stuff. The second and fifth chapter deal with really dark periods. Like, he lost his father when he was 14. He was killed by the NKVD, who eventually became the KGB, and he was one of Stalin's prime targets. And so we picked more of a Bill Sienkiewicz style. We hired a Greek artist named Vasilis Goxilis.
Literally, Bill Sienkiewicz is how I would describe it. Yeah.
And he did that chapter and the chapter with my grandpa being in the prison camp, because that period of his life is still very hazy to me. I don't know exactly what happened there, but the guy who I interviewed in Germany, he actually wrote a book about his experiences in Russian, so I was able to read it, and I just took some nuggets from what he had put out there without,
But were there also could you see exactly the experiences that your grandfather went through while reading this book?
Not really, because my grandpa just said, I was in a room working. I mean, he just did not want to talk about it. He used to lie about it, too. He used to tell me, I asked him, where were you on May 9th? May 9th is when the Germans surrendered to Russia. And he said, I was in Berlin. Bullshit he was. He was in fucking Russia. He was in a prison camp. He was, just fucking working. They were building these big storage facilities where they stored, planes and stuff. And, he was an engineer by trade, so, he wasn't really much of a talker. He was a very educated guy, and he led an incredible life, and it was a difficult journey for me to write this book, but I think it made his final days easier, because he was really suffering in the end. And, it was really tough. But
I'm sure it was tough. He held back for so long.
Yeah, it was just all coming out at once. And I was like, "Can you wait? Shut up. Let me write this down, and then you can talk again." Kind of thing. Grandpa, I know you're dying, but shut up.
You didn't have the mini cassette recorder hidden in your vest pocket?
Oh, I did. I had multiple recorders, because he talked when he wanted to talk. It wasn't, and I had to literally sit by his side as he was dying. I would spend entire nights in a nursing home, and it was just brutal. I mean, he would have accidents, all kinds of things would happen, and we had to literally keep an eye on him, because he couldn't be controlled. I mean, he was, just losing it. So,
Dan, what was your impression when you were approached to be part of this project?
I was incredibly honored. I mean, I've worked on a lot of people's books, and obviously that would mean something to whoever's making them. But I don't think I've ever been a part of something that meant so much to the person writing it as this book, because it clearly was something that he had fought just as hard as his grandfather had fought to tell. It was basically the raw story, as much as he could muster up, of this man's life, and so it felt like it was daunting. I'll be honest with you. It was man, this is someone's actual life that I'm trying to recreate.
So it was extra pressure.
Yeah,
while working
definitely.
On it?
Yeah. And what was great though is that despite that pressure, working with Onrie actually was not pressure at all, because he was, first of all, very clear about what he wanted, which is always helpful. But he also was very collaborative with how we told it. And I got the part of the story where he's in the war, so I got some of the more grisly and definitely heartbreaking and heart-wrenching parts of it, although there are plenty in the other chapters. So I guess at least there was one thing that I could lean back on, which is just research, and then of course the theater of war. You get to start drawing tanks. You maybe forget about the fact that this is real. This is somebody's life.
Yeah, this actually happened. This is not fantasy that you're...
Right, yeah. So that was, it definitely was a challenge, but at the end of it, and now having seen it in print, I couldn't be prouder. He should be immensely proud, and your family should be immensely proud.
They haven't even... Oh, okay, my mom actually read it. And, my parents, they have, a very high, They have high
Whose
standards.
father was this? Your mom's or
It was
dad's?
my mom's dad.
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody had their own standard of it. So I told my mom, I go, before you read this, don't treat this as how you remembered Grandpa. Treat it as how I remembered him. And you're seeing this from my point of view, because I can't speak for all of you. And she actually enjoyed it, which was really great. And I've been getting a lot of feedback lately. And, to go off of what Dan was saying, I'm surprised to hear it was daunting, because he just knocked it out of the park. And it's not like I had to. I didn't. The only reason why it was easy is because he made it easy. Every time I sent him pages, he would just turn them back, and I didn't have to sit there and critique the layouts because Dan knows what he's doing. Dan's a writer himself.
Dan's a pro?
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So he just went at it, and I mean, he gave us some of the most beautiful artwork. What I used to promote the book is his art. You know, like this is, and I sold 20 copies of this book before it even came out at New York Comic Con because of that poster alone. People just come and look at it, and they're like, "I want it. I'm in." And you know, it's great to be able to bring people together like that. And you know, J.M. DeMatteis, who, as you know, you're a big fan of J.M.,
Oh, sure,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, he edited the book, and working with him
I'll
was...
never forget Greenberg the Vampire.
Oh, yeah. He talks about that sometimes.
Does he?
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I seriously love that. It's an amazing graphic novel that Marvel put out many years ago, art by Mark Badger, literally about a Jewish vampire living in New York City.
Well, he turned me on to Eisner, but he also had me read his kind of like autobiographical book, Brooklyn Dreams.
Yeah, I read it too.
And that was a fantastic read. IDW put that out, I think. And
It's been out a bunch of different.
Yeah.
Everybody's had it at some point, I feel like.
yeah, I mean, JM's a hustler. He's always out there, and I mean that in the best of ways. I mean, he's always promoting something new. He's always doing something new, and it was a great experience because I work very closely with David Anthony Kraft on Yusum Shin, and we've collaborated together on other projects. And you know, we're pretty much partners in everything we do in terms of writing. But it was a very different experience working with JM because with Dak we use the classic Marvel method, meaning we just go by scene, whereas JM had me use more of a DC style in my script writing, which was full scripts. And the fact that you were saying that everything was clear is because of JM's editing. He was very thorough about making sure that the directions I wrote to the artists were clear and understandable, and it worked out perfectly. We had no problems. Dan knew exactly what kind of shots we wanted to see. And if he knew ways to amplify it and make it even better, he brought the ideas to the table, and he just knocked it out of the park. I had no problems working with Dan at all. It was a pleasure.
Nice.
Mutual.
Yeah, we're hugging right
Same.
now. We're hugging.
Oh, not even Shadowbox hugging.
Not even
Real
Shadow.
hugging,
Yeah, it's real. I love you, bro.
I think the back pats came through on the audio. I think you'll be able to.
Good.
That's good.
Hear that.
It's
Yeah.
validation that it really happened.
Yeah. All right. So let's touch on the other things that you have each done. Dan, you just wrapped up your decade-long webcomic Beardo.
Yes, that was a difficult decision to make, but I'm glad that it ended the way it did because that last strip that I did kind of blew up in a way I did not expect.
Yeah, that got a lot of coverage and a lot of exposure.
Yeah, it made the Huffington Post, it made Board Panda, it made Upward, it made all the big sites that were talking about, like, here's that relationship between a father and a daughter and how fast time moves when you have kids. And I certainly didn't expect all this to happen.
Sure.
But
I mean, I'm waiting for Hallmark to come to you for the rights.
Yeah.
Let's do a Lifetime movie or something.
it was surreal.
I just mixed my Lifetime movie channel and Hallmark holiday movies.
Who plays me in the
metaphors
Hallmark
together.
movie? That's what I want to know. Come on.
Interesting.
Who plays
I'm
Dan?
not good at casting because, you know, I like people that get to the
Arthur.
root of the character without necessarily looking like you.
Okay.
So Sam Rockwell.
Perfect. Love it. That's a great
Fuck
choice.
that. Kevin Hart all the way.
I'm still going with B. Arthur the whole time. Like I'm not backing off.
I know fucking Michael Chiklis is gonna fucking play me.
Sure. I don't know. I don't think he swears enough.
No, he really doesn't. You really love it.
I know. I'm really dropping that F-bomb a lot. They say I'm more intelligent because of it. The internet.
I've heard that
The
as
internet
well.
says so. It's gotta be true.
And Touching Evil still going on?
Yeah, I'm actually working on Volume 2 right now, so I'm planning on launching that hopefully around like springtime of next year. So I'm 4 issues deep, and usually it's like around 6 or 7 that I collected.
And give us an elevator pitch for that book.
Yeah, it's about this woman who's given a curse that allows her to kill anyone she touches, provided that they're evil. And she has no idea who's evil unless she tries it. She also doesn't know if she even wants to use this because she's a normal person. She's got a kid. She's a single mom.
That makes you a god.
Right.
When you have that power. That's
she's
a
like
huge responsibility.
Judge, jury, executioner for anybody, basically, because not only is she killing them, she's telling them that they're not good either. Like, it's something that a lot of people, even if they are bad, wouldn't think. I got my reasons for doing what I do.
One person's bad is not necessarily another person's.
Yeah, and she has no idea like what that tipping point is. So she definitely has a heavy burden to bear, and it makes for some suspenseful storytelling in the story arcs. The first one is kind of about her getting the power. The second one is how she uses it.
And you teach as well.
I do, at the International School of Comics in Chicago. So stone's throw away from here now.
That's true.
We moved
Yeah.
closer just to be nearer.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, but we have a program there teaching kids and adults how to make comics professionally. It's myself, Jill Thompson, and Doug Klauba as the teachers on staff, and
That's some pedigree right there.
yeah, oh my God, like I'm thrilled to be a part of it because I'm the young guy in there. Like, you know, Jill's got like a million Eisners and so much a reputation, and Doug as well. Like Doug is a celebrated painter and cover artist.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like you can't think of
The Phantom.
pulp art without thinking of Doug, but he's well beyond that.
Yeah, oh, he does so much more, but he's so definitively attached to like the noir pulp and like
Your Doc Savage.
yeah, your Phantoms,
Yeah.
your any detective, you know,
Yep.
your Sam Spades,
Your Kolchak the Night Stalkers.
Yep. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's to be around those people and to be able to call them like colleagues and friends is amazing. And then my students are great. Like it's I think it's kind of kept me young a little bit because I get to see what they're interested in comics wise, and I get to feel that young stage of passion when you're like, I'm going to make comics that's going to change the world, and I'm not in that anymore. I'm in this is my job, and I like doing it.
But it's good to see that attitude is still out there.
Yeah, it definitely is. So for me, it's validating, and I hope for them it's as educational as it can be.
And where can people find you online?
I can be found on Instagram at Beardo Comics, Facebook under my name Dan Dougherty, or even Beardo or Touching Evil, and then Twitter is also at Beardo Comics.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Onrie, you are 2/3 of the way through the Yi Sun Shin trilogy. Don't just nod your head.
Yeah,
I can't hear that.
I can't even hear it. It's
Yeah.
just it's been a serious uphill battle.
I mean, just working on MARX for this long and Yi Sun Shin simultaneously.
Yeah, Yi Sun Shin. That's really kind of. I started working in comics in 2005, and I didn't really know what I was doing then. I put out my first comic, and it was just complete. It was my fault. I didn't put out a really good product.
Yeah, but you put it out.
Yeah,
mean,
but you
that's the
the
biggest
idea
hurdle.
is to improve from there. And so I stopped making comics for 2 years, and I started actually like studying stuff and educating myself. And then I discovered the story of Yi Sun Shin, and I was doing research for that as well. So it really kind of gave me the chance to kind of bone up my knowledge of making comics, and figure out how I wanted to tell this story. And then once I hooked up with Dave Kraft, it really kind of pushed things much faster from there, because I'm working with a seasoned veteran who
Sure.
has been through it.
But you're also doing this all on your own. You are your own publisher.
Yes, and obviously I wouldn't have anything to sell if it wasn't for the creative team. But yes, I mean, Yi Sun Shin has gone to conventions all across the world. We've sold out at over 60 conventions to date. I think, yeah.
And without being available from an international distributor, you've sold tens of thousands of copies.
Yeah,
of your work.
we just broke 73,000 sales.
Wow. By yourself.
Yeah, over the last 7 years. Which
Yeah, that you've hand-sold these books.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 90% of them.
Yeah.
We're hand sold. We sell a lot through Amazon, which is great, and it's been really wonderful because, as you know from working in this industry, it's really about the thing about Yi Sun Shin is you have to be educated about the book in order to really kind of like come into it, and unless you've heard things about it on the internet. It's not easy for someone who's not aware of Yi Sun Shin to sell the book. So it's always been kind of like the challenge for me to get out there and share the story of Korea's greatest hero with everyone.
Well, you've always done great with trailers and promotional videos and things for your book. You do a lot of interviews in Korea and in Korean, and you definitely go above and beyond a lot of creators as far as getting the exposure out there. If there are, let's say, a retailer is listening to this right now, because we have retailers that listen, how do they get in touch with you to get Yi Sun Shin or MARX in their stores?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. They can visit our website, www.yisoonshin.com. That's yisunshin.com. And just send an inquiry. I sell wholesale, and I'll cover shipping. And any retailers that are interested, just contact us. And
because to get this book into stores, they have to get it from you. They can't get it from anybody else.
We've worked with Diamond a little bit. I think this is just one of those situations where a lot of independent creators kind of have to figure out how to manage Diamond, because
your product is more important to you than anything else.
Well, sure it
Diamond
is.
can't say that about your product.
Well, Diamond. I mean, Diamond can offer it, and look, I mean, they're the sole distributor. So if you want to get your book into stores, they're who you have to work with. But it's very difficult for me to. Everything falls on you, and to call up retailers and wonder if they are actually going to buy into it, as opposed to going to someone, tell them about the book, and having that exchange and making that connection. I think that's also important. I find myself in a very unique position. It's not easy, but it's something I enjoy doing, And it probably would have never happened if I had it that much easier. And it's taught me. I've learned skills that I never knew I had before.
Sure.
So I mean, it's been a wonderful ride. Yeah.
And you also have the thickest skin in comics, and I mean
Iron
that from
skin.
for iron skin. That's a good way to call it.
Yeah.
You don't take rejection personally.
No.
But it just makes you try that much harder.
It's just a matter of, look, someone may not like my stuff, and that's okay. Some people are like feeling bad about saying no to MARX, for example, because the story is so personal, but that's okay. I mean, especially right now, it's the holidays, or you go to a convention, you only have so much money for something.
Sure.
And I'll tell you what, if I put pressure on you to buy from me because you don't necessarily want to buy it,
you're not going to come back.
You're not going to come back.
Yeah.
Even if you do buy it out of guilt, you're not going to enjoy the product. My goal at every convention I do is to make sure that every single person that comes to my table walks away with a smile on their face, whether they buy from me or not. If they buy from me, they got to feel like they got a deal. I want you being happy with what you purchase. You may not like it afterwards, and I've had situations occur where people have, reviewed Easton Shin and didn't enjoy it. But hey, you can buy my book and set it on fire. You still bought it.
Sure. And they gave it a chance.
And they gave it a shot.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. And I think negative reviews sometimes actually help. Like, look at Last Jedi. There are people who are tearing it apart. I still haven't seen it yet. I didn't like The Force Awakens, but I have a 5-year-old kid who is getting into Star Wars. I'm not going to keep my kid from seeing Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there and I'm going to enjoy it,
We're not opening this to a Star Wars discussion, but I will tell you that
I haven't seen it anyway.
the amount of
ruined.
negative reviews have made me like it even more.
Yeah.
Every
You've
time I
seen
read
right?
yeah.
And you liked it.
I did.
I did too. Actually,
and that's all I needed from it.
I didn't think I was going to hear all the negative reviews. I thought maybe I'd get some sticklers, but the petition...
You guys are lucky because you got to go to the movie unspoiled. Thursday morning last week, one Facebook post ruined everything.
I saw you post that happened, but you didn't say what it was. Don't say it. Yeah, don't ruin it for anybody who's listening.
I won't ruin it, but just in 2 sentences, and I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, I was just like, wow, he just went out. That doesn't ruin a movie for me, okay? Mm-hmm. For fans that are interested in seeing it, I can understand that, but that's not going to keep me from seeing the movie. Okay, you ruined it. I'll still go see it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
If you would have ruined the season finale of Mr. Robot, I would have found him and slit his neck open.
That's right. That's more than fair. And Dan, your Beardo books are available through Comics Mix, right?
Yeah, they're through Comic Mix, and then on my website, beardocomics.com, which I didn't even mention before, but I probably
That's
should
why
now.
I came back to you.
Good call. Good call. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Best of luck with MARX.
Thanks,
you can clearly see the care and the passion and the love that went into this book, and it's doing well here so far today. And after today, we will be stocking it regularly. So
outstanding.
There you go. And to both of you and your families, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.